Hey guys, so today we are beginning our Cells 2 lecture. Yesterday we quickly introduced you to what cells were, and today we're going to go into the ideas of what is similar across all different cell types. So this is just a very quick recap into what we learned yesterday. Remember, cells are the smallest unit. All right, they're the smallest unit of something that's still alive, okay? And it's important to remember that all living things are made up of cells. You can't be alive and not have cells within you that make up who you are. All right, and this includes animals, plants, anything that is able to metabolize food and grow. And remember, food, that can even be something like sunlight if you're a plant. Okay, it doesn't have to mean, oh, you're eating a hamburger, right? Food can be very different depending on what you are. It's anything that's going to give you energy. All right. And lastly, new cells are produced from existing cells. All right. They don't just spontaneously pop up. Right. These are all things you guys know, right? And we looked at this drawing yesterday and we saw that there's many different components inside cells. And it's these different components which we're actually going to start talking about today. So there are three components that all cell types have, okay? And that's the key. Different cell types will have all different kinds of components, but across all different kinds of cells, you can bet that each cell is going to have a cell membrane, you can bet that it's going to have cytoplasm, and you can sure bet it's going to have at least one, if not more, organelles. Okay, these are our three main similarities that we're going to see across all cell types. All right, so to start us off, we're going to start looking at the cell membrane. All right, the cell membrane is also known as a plasma membrane. It's kind of used in texts very interchangeably, so it's something I want you guys to get used to hearing both words. Cell membrane, plasma membrane, same thing. What it does is that it's able to separate the inside of a cell from the outside environment. What do I mean by that? Well, if you take a quick peek on your right, and I know you guys have this in black and white, and I hope this drawing is a little better, but, right, the outside environment to the cell, it's literally everything out here, right? Whether this is water, whether this is blood, right? The outside environment to a cell can be many, many, many different things. What is protecting the inside of the cell from the outside, right? What's keeping all of the components of a cell in one place is going to be our cell membrane, okay? And the cell membrane here is just this wall, basically, that prevents the inner materials from being able to leak outside, okay? And that's basically what I just answered here. So it acts like a wall, but the thing is, it acts like a wall with doors, all right? This is because some things need to enter and leave. I'll write that better for you guys. And leave the cell, right? whether that's food that's providing you energy, right? Whether that's waste that you need to excrete, there need to be certain things that are able to get outside of this cell membrane, right? Okay, what this allows for is the climate inside the cell to remain constant. And what do I mean by that? Well, I mean that a cell will always have energy, right? And it will always get rid of waste. I also mean that the temperature in the cell can be different than outside the cell. And concentration gradients. And this is something that we're going to get to in the future, but I really just want you to have this idea that it's the cell membrane that's allowing things to come in and out of the cell. The thing is, it only lets certain molecules in and out. It's not letting everything in, okay? That's the big key. It's not letting everything in. And what we call this, I want you guys to draw this big arrow there. This is known as a fancy term called selective permeability. All right, selective permeability, right? When only certain molecules are allowed in and out of the cell and not everything. Okay? So, really quickly, what I want you guys to check out here is this is an old slide that we did many weeks ago on lipids, right? But if you remember, with lipids, we actually talked about the cell membrane, okay? The cell membrane is composed of what is known as a lipid bilayer. And if you guys are so studious to remember, bi equals 2. So there's 2 layers of lipids. And if you look right here, right, you can see that there's one inner layer, right? And we have one outer layer, right? Okay, and remember these terms, right? Hydrophilic and hydrophobic. Hydrophilic, remember that means water loving. So these hydrophilic heads face, right, the water, while the hydrophobic heads, the hydrophobic tails, I'm sorry, remember this is water hating. Right, these hydrophobic tails face the inside. And to better clarify exactly what this means, I want you guys to look right here on the right once more, right? And you'll see that these tails, right? These wonderful lipid tails, the tails face each other, right? And these hydrophobic heads, these hydrophilic heads, I'm sorry, right? They're all pointing out, while the hydrophobic tails are pointing towards one another. So hydrophobic, right? And these are the hydrophilic heads. Cool. Again, that's just a recap. I want you guys to understand that we've actually talked about this once before. So on to number 2, the cytoplasm. So the cytoplasm is a gel, a gel-like substance, all right, that the cell is filled with, and its internal parts are suspended in. Suspended. Now, this isn't suspended like you're suspended from school. This suspended basically means floats. Okay? And if you take a look at this picture we looked at the beginning, the cytoplasm, I'm going to use blue here, the cytoplasm is all of this yellow that is just taking up space around everything here. All right, this is all cytoplasm. Here's some more cytoplasm. Okay. And you can see, right, that we have a bunch of organelles, like this guy, right? And they're all just floating around this cytoplasm, all right? They're suspended in the cytoplasm, okay? What's really cool about the cytoplasm, because it has all of these things floating in it, it's where the majority of chemical reactions occur. And this is because of so many things floating in it, right? It's got all the necessary material from the enzymes to the substrates that chemical reactions can just readily happen there, right? It's also where energy is stored. And this is either in the forms of fat or carbs, right? Carbohydrates. You guys remember learning about those? Those are our 2 big forms of energy, right? And we can have that stored there, right, from an endergonic reaction. And very lastly, the cytoplasm is where we find the organelles. All right. So I briefly mentioned this term organelles earlier, and we're going to actually learn what an organelle is right now. So an organelle is a specialized structure that's inside of a cell that has a specific function. It's not just doing anything, right? It has a specific plan that it carries out and a specific action, okay? What I want you guys to do is to think of a cell as a factory. All right, when you guys think of factory, right, you see that there are many different workers that focus on one thing, right? You might have one worker that just builds the box, right? And you might have one worker that just builds one part of the machine. And you have one worker that just ships the product. A cell is very similar to this, all right? And I want you to think of these organelles as specialized machines, right? Where each has one main task, okay? There's one main task for each of these organelles. It's like a factory. And if you guys take a peek at this cool picture below, it's basically showing all of these things that are numbered are different organelles in the cells. And you can see over here, right, that there's this one guy that's doing a forklifter and he's moving things, right? That's showing you the mitochondria. Over here, you have some Golgi apparatus, and you can see there's some packages, right? You have the nucleus here, right? And you have some workers that are putting together this big long string. So that's what I want you guys to think about is really this picture. It's awesome. Super lastly, there are many different organelles. We're going to be learning about the majority of them. Just some examples are the nucleus, the mitochondria, the ribosome, the Golgi apparatus, and the endoplasmic reticulum. And again, if you guys look below, there are many of them there. And if you actually take a peek in the front left of the room, you will see I have some posters that actually show some of these things. So these are your key terms. Please define these. I've noticed that students that are doing this are getting really higher test scores because they know their vocab. So please define these. And our next lesson is actually going to be going into what organelles are. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this. I know it's a little bit lengthy today, but this is really exciting stuff. We're finally getting into some biology, and you guys are learning about your cells, right? Cells are you. So I hope you got a lot out of this. Please raise your hand if you have any questions, and I hope you enjoy doing some group work right after this. Have a great class, guys.